welcome back. So in my last video, I think I said that, or the previous video before that, I think that was the 36 or 37 week update, that there could possibly be a baby in the next one, and sure enough, there is. This is Stella. Stella was actually born a little over a week ago on May 29th. She was born at 10:57 a.m. She was 7 pounds 8 ounces and 21 inches long. So in this video, we just want to talk a little bit about the birth story, really. I don't really have a whole 38 week update. She was born at exactly 39 weeks. So the birth story kind of plays in with the 38 week update. So let me see, 38 weeks. I went to the doctor on that Wednesday and was checked. And when she checked me, she said I was only a fingertip dilated, so probably wouldn't have a baby that week. So we went home, a little discouraged, but you know, it wasn't time yet apparently. So that night, like 12 hours later after my appointment, I had some bleeding. It was red, pretty gross, but it eventually tapered off. Come Thursday, I was having a little bit of pain here and there at work, but I did go to work. I could work through it, no biggie. My back was hurting me a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. And then Thursday night, it kind of tapered off, so I came home, vacuumed, did some chores around the house, and that night I ended up losing my mucus plug. Gross, I know, nobody really wants to hear about that. You don't especially, but oh well. So, and I guess when you lose that, you can either go into labor like pretty much right away, or it could be 2 weeks before you go into labor. So he works second shift, so he works 3:30 to midnight. So that night I went to bed and started having regular pains going on in my back. Started timing them. He got home, took a shower, came upstairs, and I was laying in bed and I was breathing through them. Enough to the point where he was like, I think I need to go pack for the hospital finally.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do.
So
I had to do something. Just didn't know what.
So he went ahead and got our bags ready. I told him I didn't think we were going that night, and we didn't end up going that night. But all through the night and that morning, I ended up calling out at work that Friday because I was in a lot of pain, lots of back labor. And at the time, I wasn't sure if it was true labor or not. Like I said, I was still only a fingertip that Wednesday, but I know that doesn't really matter. Some women can go into labor pretty much, you know, right away as soon as they leave the doctor's office, being only a fingertip dilated. So tried to see if it would go away on Friday. It was continuous, 5 to 6 minutes apart. And the doctor's office had said if your water breaks or your contractions are only 2 to 3 minutes apart for over 2 hours, then to come in. Well, mine were 5 to 6 for more than 2 hours, so I wasn't sure if I should go in, if I shouldn't go in. So tried calling the on-call doctor, never got a call back. An hour later, we finally decided that Friday night we were going to go to the hospital. So we ended up going. They put us in triage, and
Obviously, I'm not at work at this point.
yeah, obviously he took Friday off as well, because at first he was like, should I go into work? I was like, yeah, do what you want. And then I think when it was time for him to go into work, I was like, you're not going to work. I was like, you need to stay home with me because I'm in pain. So that night, what was it, about, 11 o'clock by the time we got to the hospital. 11 o'clock Friday night, we go in, pee in a cup. They tell me that I'm a little dehydrated. Not a lot, just a little, but they are going to hook me up to a bag of IV fluids. So they do that. She checks me first, and I was just barely 1 centimeter dilated. So she gives me the bag of IV fluids. We're watching the contractions. Contractions are still 6-7 minutes apart. By the time the bag was finished, they were 7 to 8 minutes apart, but I was still having them. And they call the on-call doc, talk to her, and they check me after the 2 hours and the bag's gone. And basically I was still I was only 1 centimeter dilated. There was no change. So when they talked to the on-call doc and told her that, she just said to send me home with an Ambien and try to get some sleep. So they said it could be early labor, but it could be Braxton Hicks. I didn't think it was Braxton Hicks. I thought it was the real deal at that point because
not all day long.
Because it hurt and it was all day long, constant. So we go home. I ended up getting, I think, 5 hours of sleep. By the time we got home, it was almost 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. So come home. I got some sleep. Woke up Saturday. I don't know. I guess it was maybe 8 o'clock. I finally got up, got out of bed. It was around then. I don't know. Oh, she's having a nightmare. Okay. And so, get up Saturday morning. I'm still having pains. It's in my back. It's stronger and getting stronger and stronger. Still 5 to 6 minutes apart. I think I had some that were maybe 3 minutes apart, but it wasn't too many.
Yeah, as the day progressed, we got 4 minutes, 3 minutes, back to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we ended up. Well, my mom kept telling me, go back to the hospital, go back to the hospital. I was like, I'm not going back to the hospital to get rejected again. This is ridiculous. I tried sitting on one of the big exercise balls that my brother-in-law and his wife were nice enough to let us use. That did not work. It only made the back pain worse. I would get on all fours and put a heating pad on my back. I had called the doctor's office Friday morning and had told them that I was having back pain, and they had said to get on all fours, and they said usually when you have back labor like that, it's because the baby is sunny side up, not facing the right way to come out. So they told me to try just some different positions to see if I could get the baby to flip, but nothing helped. So I tried all fours, tried the heating pad Saturday again. He rubbed tennis balls on my lower back. Nothing at that point was helping, but I was stubborn and I was like, I'm not going back to the hospital. So finally, I think 8 o'clock Saturday night, I finally caved in and I was like, we need to go to the hospital. I can't take this anymore. I mean, I was in tears. Yeah, he was getting annoyed with all my moaning and my, I'm in so much pain.
I was completely helpless.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do.
You were helpless.
What?
You were helpless. You just didn't know what to do.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So
I couldn't do anything.
So we go back to the hospital. By the time we get there, it's like 9 o'clock Saturday night. They put us in a room immediately and they check me, and I'm still only 1 centimeter dilated, and I was pretty much in tears at that point because I didn't understand why. And then my mom had told me earlier in the day that my aunt doesn't, with none of her kids dilated at all. So I did let the nurse know that, but she said, you know, it's still too early to just jump into a C-section or anything like that. So not that I was asking for one. But they ended up hooking me up to IV and giving me Stadol. And Stadol, in case you don't know, kind of drugs you, makes you relax. It's almost like a morphine, or it is a morphine, type of morphine, I guess. But you can still feel the contractions. You're just relaxed, really relaxed in between. And you kind of relax through the contractions as well. Which I wasn't crazy about getting something like that, but at that point I was willing to take whatever they would give me. So they did that, and she said she would check me back in 2 hours, that they still weren't admitting me yet. So close to midnight, the nurse comes back in and checks me and says I'm a 3 to a 4. Now mind you, the baby never dropped. She stayed high the entire time. When they checked me, my cervix was posterior and really far back. When they checked me on, I was 3 to a 4. It dropped by then. So they said that the Stadol just helped my body relax and allowed me to dilate versus me tensing up through every contraction that I was having. Then they said that they were going to admit me then. Well, it was after midnight at that point. So they asked me then, do you want an epidural? I said, yes, please give me an epidural. I'm in so much pain. At that point I was gripping the side of the bed, just trying to breathe through and moan through contractions. And they called the anesthesiologist, The anesthesiologist had to come in, of course, and then not only that, but there was an emergency C-section in front of me. So he had to go tend to that. So by the time I got my epidural, it was 2.5 hours later. It's now 2:30 in the morning on Sunday. He comes in, does the epidural. The epidural did not hurt at all. I was worried that it was going to be painful, but I didn't really feel anything. But I was also having back labor, so at that point, anything didn't even compare to that. So got my epidural, and when they checked me again after the epidural at 2:30 that morning, I was a 5. So I was a 3 to a 4 around midnight. At 2:30, I was a 5. Got the epidural. They turned all the lights off. We tried to get some rest. Didn't get very much. So at 7:30 in the morning, I was an 8, and that's when the nurse went ahead and broke my water, because my water never broke on its own. And at that point, the contractions started to pick up a lot more, and I was hitting the button on the epidural to give me a little bit more relief. And it wasn't really a pain so much as just some pressure, more so in the catheter than anything. And they said that sometimes that's normal depending on how the baby's positioned. And she definitely wasn't positioned right. She wasn't sunny side up, and she wasn't face down either. But it was putting pressure on the catheter, and I could feel it each time, and it was getting a little worse and worse. So I kept hitting it, and they told me when you get to a 9, you can't hit the epidural anymore. Don't push the button. So I hit it until they came in and checked me and said I was a 9. Then at 10 a.m. on Sunday, I was a 10 when they checked me. So they told me, we don't want you pushing right away. We want you to wait about 30 minutes so you have enough pressure and so the baby gets down further, so you don't wear yourself out pushing. Well, at 10:10, I was like, I need to push. I feel too much pressure. So they went ahead, and the doctor who was on call, this is now a different doctor who's on call for Sunday, he comes in, checks me out, does a couple practice pushes with me, and then I guess next door to us there was a baby in distress that he was also on call for. So he was kind of bouncing back and forth between the 2 rooms. And I guess the girl next to us needed a C-section?
I'm assuming.
I don't know. I heard them throw out C-section, and it wasn't regarding me. So when they did the couple of test pushes, they're like, oh, her head is right there. They said you can probably get her out within the next 10 contractions. She'll be here within the hour. So we go ahead, start pushing. I work with the nurse because the doctor's in the other room attending to the other lady that's in there. And he had said that when her head was pretty much like almost out, he would come back in and finish delivering. Well, it got to the point where she was there, and the nurse did go ahead and call the doctor to come back in to deliver her, but she was stuck underneath my pubic bone, and I could not get her out. She was kind of turned sideways, because I know when she came out, her head was sideways. So what they had to do is he worked with me. I was exhausted. The only thing I had at that point was a popsicle. I hadn't eaten since Saturday at lunchtime. I would push really good on the first push during the contraction, and then by the 3rd push, I was worn out. I couldn't
She
do
didn't
anymore.
have enough air to make the 3rd push as good as the 1st push.
Yeah, which is what I needed, and I couldn't do it. So with the doctor being in a rush to deliver this other woman's baby, he went ahead and told me, he said, I need you to give it all you've got with this last contraction. He was like, or I'm going to have to use the vacuum next time. So I tried, and I could not get her out. So the doctor then used the vacuum and just put it on her little head, and he kind of got into a crouch position and pushed on my stomach and pulled at the same time, and everybody in the room could have swore he was going to rip her head off her little shoulders. He was pulling so hard to get her out from underneath my pubic bone. But she ended up coming out just fine after that. And like I said, born at 10:57, so we started pushing probably about 10-15 minutes after 10, and she was born before 11, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't, for as far as pushing goes. Granted, we had the assistance of a vacuum, but her head, she didn't have like a huge hickey on the top of it, or it wasn't too bad. She did have a cone head from where she was in the birth canal for a little bit, but it's pretty much rounded out at this point. It's not too bad. So she was born at 10:57 a.m. on that Sunday, on the 29th. So that so far is pretty much how everything went. The epidural, pretty much after she was born, wore off immediately. I was up moving around that night. I have had no issues as far as anything with recovery. I did get a few stitches, but I'm pretty sure are healing up pretty nicely. So other than that, it was pretty easy for the most part, besides the 2 days worth of back labor that was.
And 2 days of sitting there after the fact.
2 days of sitting there after the fact. Because she was born on a holiday weekend, because Memorial Day was that Monday, they wouldn't let us go home Monday with her, because you have to have a pediatrician's appointment scheduled for the following day.
Guess what's not open on
And of
holidays.
course, yeah, the pediatrician's office wasn't open on that Monday, and not only that, but my doctor discharged me, and her pediatrician to discharge her. They were both on vacation. So we had to sit in the hospital all day Monday and kind of twiddle our thumbs and just stare at our new baby. But
in a closet.
Yeah, in a closet, because the rooms were so tiny. The recovery rooms, or the postpartum rooms, were itty bitty. But we did get to come home Tuesday morning, and she's checked out great. They have been checking her thyroid levels. She has already been to the Children's Hospital here where we live, and they've checked her out. The pediatric endocrine there has looked her over. So far everything looks great. Her levels were a little elevated at birth, but they said that that's normal when babies are first born. And her levels, we had them checked again. When did we have them checked again? Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday we had her checked again, and Friday they called with the results and said that her levels were normal. So far she's doing great. No issues with that, but we are having her blood drawn again this coming Thursday just to be sure, be on the safe side. She's having her weight checked every week so far just to make sure she's not losing any weight. They were worried that methimazole was in her system and that was keeping her thyroid maybe suppressed and not going into overdrive. But they said that my meds would have worn off after a week, and she's a little over a week old now, and so far she's healthy and happy. And I don't know what my lab results are yet because I haven't gone to get blood work done since the last time. So I've got to go get that done this week just to see what mine are, see if they went crazy after she was born. What else? Oh, her weight. 7 pounds, 8 ounces when she was born. The next day she was 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and then the day after that was discharged 6 pounds, 15 ounces. So they like to see them lose between 5 to 7%, no more than 7%. She lost 7.2%. But when we went to the doctor's office the next day after being discharged, she was back to 7 pounds even, so she'd already gained an ounce back. Doctor wanted us to have her weighed again that Friday, so last Friday. At the Children's Hospital, she was 7 pounds, 4 ounces.
That was Thursday.
That was Thursday. Friday, she was back to 7 pounds, 5.5 ounces. So I've got a feeling she has no problem gaining weight. She's guzzling down 3 ounces of either breast milk or supplement formula every 2 to 3 hours. So she's an eater, that's for sure. As far as breastfeeding goes, I am not breastfeeding because we've had issues with latching due to anatomy reasons. I won't go into all of that, but I am pumping, so she is getting breast milk, and like I said, we're doing the formula, the supplement formula, and that seems to work just perfectly fine for her. It hasn't upset her stomach or anything like that. She has no issues with any potty or anything like that. She's doing very well.
Healthy baby.
Healthy baby. She is wearing newborn clothes right now, but like I said, she was 21 inches long, so she a lot of stuff's kind of short on her, especially the sleepers with the footies in them.
She got big feet and big hands.
Oh my gosh, her hands are like huge. Let's see if I can show it. Let me see.
She likes to keep her fist balled up, and she surely don't like her hands to be messed with, so.
I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but anyway, she has really long fingers. She's got her daddy's fingers and her daddy's toes. They are definitely some clam digging toes, if y'all even know what that means, but definitely big feet. They're about, her feet are as long as my index finger, from like her big toe all the way down to her heel. Anything else? She does have a little bit of hair, not a whole lot. It is kind of like a dirty blonde.
It was really dark at first.
It was dark at first, and it's really lightened up into like a dirty blonde color. It'll probably all fall out. I hope. Yeah, I hope not, but it's probably a good possibility. Mine all did when I was born. Anything else? She's a pretty good sleeper. She gave us a little hard time last night, but usually we average, I'd say, anywhere from 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night. Total, yeah. We don't sleep all the way through, unfortunately, but that's okay. We don't mind. He took a week off work. He does go back to work tomorrow, which is a bummer. I'm really bummed.
Yeah, me too. Oh well.
Like I said, I've taken 8 weeks off, so I still have about 7 weeks left to go before I go back to work. So
and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we will see how that goes. Anything else we need to add? We talked about her levels. I'll talk about mine.
We'll do another update, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do another update once we know more about her levels and my levels. Again, I don't see the endocrinologist until July unless she decides she wants to see me sooner, which she probably won't. I'm still taking 5 milligrams with methimazole right now. Might have to up it depending on what these levels read this go around, so we will see. But that is all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.